Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated.
Come to Where I'm From podcast, episode 92.
How many cameras you got going on here?
We got 4 cameras going, 4 audio channels
Only
going.
4?
Yeah.
Well, there's 2 other ones over there.
No. Oh, yeah, they're not in use.
Oh.
Rench of Gangstagrass.
In the house.
In the house.
How
Thank
you
for
doing,
coming.
Rench?
Man, I'm just getting through some crazy times here with everybody else.
Where are you coming in from, Rench?
Brooklyn, baby.
Which part?
Kensington.
Where's that?
It's
Where?
pretty nice.
I've never. Is that really Brooklyn?
It is. Although it kind of doesn't look like it.
Kensington, Kentucky.
Sounds
Yeah,
different
because
than
we've got,
I've lived in Brooklyn for years.
I'm on a block with porches and front yards, so
Really?
sometimes it doesn't feel like Brooklyn, but it's actually it's pretty close to Prospect Park.
Okay. I love Prospect Park.
Yeah. If you go down like below Crown Heights
Mm-hmm.
and Lefferts Gardens, you get to Kensington. Or if you're coming around the other way, it's like Park Slope. You go down around the corner, you're at Windsor Terrace.
Yeah.
And you keep going, you're in Kensington.
Okay. Interesting. How far away is the bike ride if you wanted to ride to the East Village? Do you ride a bike?
Not to Manhattan, but you could do it. It wouldn't be too hard to
Which
get to the
bridge? Brooklyn or Manhattan?
I think you'd probably take the Manhattan Bridge, I imagine.
Which is your favorite?
My favorite bridge?
Yeah.
To ride a bike on.
To ride a bike.
Brooklyn, because you're out in the open air.
Yeah,
on
but
that
there's
walk
too many
path.
people.
Too many people.
Yeah, the people are a problem, especially if
People
you're
are-
biking. People step into that bike lane all the time.
Yo, I used to live. Okay, I lived in Dumbo for years. I lived in Red Hook
You
for
gotta have your
years.
finger on the bell.
Yeah.
Listen, I used to ride over that bridge. I remember there was a point where I would just go bike lane, bike, yell, sometimes freak out. And then I got a Yoda impression. I was like, this is like different people every single time. You are wasting your breath. These are tourists. They're
Right.
and then I went zen on it for the rest of my years in Brooklyn, and I just never opened my mouth. I would just
That is-
and it was
Yeah.
that thing in the Matrix when
That's the correct approach.
when Neo suddenly could see the bullets flying and stuff. That was like that with the Brooklyn Bridge.
Well, because you
Yeah.
feel like doing it, you feel like an asshole. It's like, I can't be doing this.
The bell is okay. Ding, 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 ding.
Once you move to the Manhattan Bridge, you never go back.
No problems. It's not as pretty, folks, but it's so much better.
No, I still rated on the prettiness.
Yeah,
That's
no,
gonna
well,
get me every time.
Brooklyn Bridge is amazing.
classic.
Yeah.
You know
for
what? Big fan of the Williamsburg Bridge over
Yeah.
here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. I
I
haven't
dig
done
it. Lots of people people seem to really just stay bike lane, stays in the bike
if
lane.
we're already going a bridge, riding up
know?
the Queensboro is hard. That bridge has an incline worse than all the other 3.
You know what my big favorite is? George Washington Bridge.
That I've only done
Because
once.
it got the little red lighthouse. You ever been up there?
Not biking, no.
No. Okay, you take that all the way up the West Side Highway. It's a good one to go on in these troubled times.
All right.
And make that little red lighthouse your destination. There's one lighthouse in all of the island of Manhattan. It's right there. It's like
Yeah.
out of a child's story. It's beautiful. Where are you originally from?
California,
What part?
Santa Barbara.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long ago did you move here?
I moved to New York in 94,
94.
prime Giuliani time.
What brought that on?
I came out to go to NYU,
For what?
film school.
Ah.
But I found myself-
It's a common
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
So I
people,
was-
filmmakers want to become musicians a lot.
Yeah. And I guess I was a musician that wanted to become a filmmaker, but I found myself at the film school just taking more and more of the sound classes so I could use the studios
Right,
to make tracks. And I thought, I think this means something.
right.
Just stick with the music.
You followed your bliss,
Yeah.
as Joseph Campbell
Yeah.
would say. And invisible hands helped you.
Yeah.
So you became a musician then?
I did. Or I just kept being a musician
Kept being a musician.
from the start. Yeah.
What were you doing as far as music-wise? Were you a singer-songwriter to begin with?
I've always been kind of on the production side, making beats and stuff and recording things. And then, I sing to the extent that I need somebody to sing the stuff that I'm making, and sometimes it's me. So
That's
there
the
you
default.
go. Yeah.
What do you program your beats on?
I've been using Pro Tools forever. When I need a drum machine, I'll plug in Reason.
I like Reason and
yeah.
Pro Tools is a great.
It's a good combo.
It's
Yeah.
a good combo.
It's solid.
I loved that for years, and then I switched to Ableton and the Push 2, and I still sometimes long for the days of Reason and Pro Tools.
I'm definitely somebody that like if it's not broke, if it's working, just stick with it. So I just have been doing that same combo forever.
Even today.
It's a good combo.
Yeah.
It really works. They got Reason dialed
Yeah.
in. When I first I was signed to Peter Gabriel's label and Real World Records, and the guys who invented Reason, they were like assistant engineers when I first started recording there. Just like these assistants that were working on this program. And
Before it was out?
yeah. No, this is like early, like
you
mid
give-
mid.
Did you give some input?
Man, I wish. It's like one of those things where if I had only known then
Right.
what I know now, I would have been like,
Yeah.
hey, you guys need help developing that little thing you're working on?
Yeah.
You know?
So you were doing beats back from the 90s.
Yeah, and it's no big deal. You guys got the SM7Bs, and I'm here on a 58.
Well, I'll tell
He,
you
do-
what.
he does
I'll
that.
rock it.
I'll tell
I'll
you
rock it
why.
old school.
Because
I don't like that
no,
either.
I'll tell you why. Because
but he's
I
doing
want to
that.
sanitize. I can't sanitize.
I
this.
want to tell Rench why.
And
Let
this-
me tell
okay,
Rench
tell
why
him.
in my words.
Tell him.
Because I've asked that same thing. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I want you on this mic
No,
too.
I'll tell you what. I
Ehud
can
is
handle it.
so uptight about social distancing and
You don't know what guest you're getting. So,
No, that's
you
what I'm
know.
saying. I don't
So
care. I will
he
rock a
like-
58 because you know what? People have been rocking 58 since the dawn of time.
by the
It's
way,
not a
your
problem.
voice sounds great.
Thank you.
It doesn't
Yeah.
sound.
I mean-
I don't think it would sound.
I mean, more punk
How much
rock would be
be-
if I had a 57 there.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm glad that you know that.
Oh, come on.
I'm glad.
Hey, the guest should have an upright with a 57.
Wow.
There you go.
Color me impressed, Ehud. There is none more of a punk rock mic than the 57.
And on
It's
upright
the-
stand.
No.
No.
No. What do you call it?
No boom.
No boom.
No boom.
No boom.
No boom. Straight.
Round bottom,
Straight stand.
straight up.
Straight stand.
57.
Welcome everybody to Engineers Geeking Out.
Yeah.
We're your hosts for today.
This is the content people are like hyped about.
Dying
though.
for.
This is the shit they want to hear.
But to finish his thought, it's just I can wipe that down, and me and him use the same mic. So I just want to be respectful to the guest, and
They sure should put out like commercials now, like 58. It's the sanitized mic.
yeah.
Get a
Or
58.
come up with a top for the SM7 that you could wipe down.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's why he gave you that mic.
Got it.
No
Yeah.
disrespect.
No disrespect.
Quite the opposite. Full respect.
Yeah.
That's a
That's
good
right.
one.
Full respect. Quite the opposite, Rench. But I get it.
I know.
If I were in your shoes, I would have said the same.
What do these
damn
guys
thing.
think
No,
I
I know.
am?
I would have actually been irate about it.
Giving
though.
me
No,
a
I
58.
know you put this here for me because you know I can handle it.
Yeah.
Exactly. You came close.
Yeah.
You sussed it out.
So were you always interested in hip hop in those early days, or
Yeah.
what was that like? did
Yeah,
you
I got
grow
into
up-
hip hop. I think it was third grade that I was in
Really?
when hip hop really blew up. It was the 80s.
Yeah.
And so like Beat Street came out and all the kids were watching that stuff. So Recess for
Remember
me.
Colors when that movie hit
Yeah,
and that soundtrack?
yeah.
That was like when I heard that I was
Ice-T,
like, I want to
and
make
that's-
that song.
That's what
Ice-T?
introduced us all to Ice-T.
Yeah.
He
Colors.
did the song for that.
Not body count in the house.
Colors.
Not yet. That was before
That
Body
Yeah,
Count.
no, I know. That's when
Colors. Sean Penn. I went and saw that with my
Yeah.
mom in
Really?
the theater. Yeah.
So what was the soundtrack?
It was Colors.
Yeah, it was the
Colors.
song.
Ice-T.
'Cause I'm a black knight walking, psychopath talking. It's just like kicked it off from
and
that.
then
yeah.
look at come on.
Seems
So-
like you know it. So
I-
let's
you
go.
know it.
that first line is seared into my brain.
Yeah.
But
Really?
third grade for me was about Recess was putting down cardboard to do your backspins with your parachute pants on to Beat Street and
Some
whatnot.
Z Cavaricis and shit.
I got my first my 45 record that I bought to take home and put on the turntable was the Rocket by Herbie Hancock
Love
single.
it. Yeah.
And so from there it just kept going. Run DMC came out and we were all reciting those lines to each other.
Really?
And then Public Enemy and NWA, and it was a rap. It was a rap. When those two albums, Takes a Nation of Billions. I always think, is it millions or billions? It's billions. It's millions?
It's millions. Yeah.
It's millions?
Yeah.
Okay, Takes a Nation of Millions, and then Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah.
Those two, that was like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones.
Sure.
Which one did you rate higher?
I was more of a Public Enemy dude.
I probably was too, but secretly liked NWA more. Sure. And oddly, NWA aged, like the production might have aged better than Public Enemy.
No, I disagree.
You disagree?
Yeah. I mean, they're both good and classic.
Yeah.
But and I actually recently I got to hang out with Hank Shockley from the Bomb Squad, who worked on some of that production, and I still listen to it because this is all the layering that they were doing on that stuff is still amazing.
It's killer.
Hold up.
But Dre just was like...
And Dre was solid, yeah.
NWA was like the early... It's kind of like early... listening to like early Phil Spector or something.
Well, Dre's approach was so much more straightforward. Yeah. It was just you kick, snare, hi-hat, there's your beat, and then put a sample over it, and then just to have the guys rap over it. In Public Enemy, you had the Bomb Squad producing all these layers where they'd put in different things, like several different samples going at once, and then Terminator X doing the cuts on top. Yeah. And it was just really complex what was going on.
Always like a recurring note on every like bar or whatever.
Yeah. Something high, warbly. Yeah.
Were you analyzing it as a kid when you were listening to it? What do you remember?
I wasn't analyzing it. I was just kind of like soaking in it, You just put that on and you feel this, like all this noise wash over you that's just like this glorious, just glorious wall of beats and sounds going on.
Did you ever get into Gangstar?
Yeah.
Full Clip.
And Guru, all that stuff. Yeah, mixing jazz in. DJ Premier,
that became my favorite.
I don't know. Any of those went right over.
No, DJ Premier
that's
on
the
the
same
beats.
band.
No, I grew. Where I grew up,
Gangstar.
none of this was. Unfortunately, none of this was in my conscience. Growing up in a foreign country.
Oh, so you're gonna blame growing up in Israel?
Yeah,
for your
well,
ignorance.
I didn't. There wasn't popular NWA or Public. I think I saw Public Enemy because of MTV.
Right.
Were they playing NWA and MTV?
Did that make it on
MTV?
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
Express Yourself.
Okay.
Remember the sanitized version of
and
Express
they had
Yourself?
MTV raps.
Without any curses.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But it's true. DJ Premier, I would say, is definitely one of the great beat makers of hip hop.
And Guru is one of the great lyricists. What I love about Gangstar is they were like motivational, like positivity rap without any cheesiness. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
Like songs like Discipline, about like, being disciplined, and still inspires me still.
Yeah. Well, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to do an old hip hop cover for you today, just on acoustic guitar.
Let's hear it.
Since we're talking about the influence of hip hop going
Love
back. Because another big one that happened in the early 90s when I was in high school was Cypress Hill coming out. I was in Southern California, so Cypress Hill came out and everybody was like, this is the jam. And I listened to that first Cypress Hill album. Just
Insane in the Membrane?
It was before that. That was on the second album. The first album was Hand on the Pump and How I Could Just Kill a Man.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff. And I wore that CD out listening to it.
Was it an underground scene with them in the beginning?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. Be Real.
Yeah.
And who was the other member?
And Sendog was like the hype man, and then
and
then the production was DJ Muggs.
Nice. All right, let's hear it. What do you got?
Hold on, let me just check the guitar. Just play for a second.
I like that guitar too. What kind of guitar is that?
This is a Lara V.
Those are nice.
They're awesome. Yeah. Nice little Canadian company. The guys are really cool. So we have a relationship with them. Yeah. Highly recommend these Lara V guitars. This is an electric acoustic, so it comes with an LR Bags pickup on it. And we used to tour around the country, and I would get compliments from the sound guys. We'd be doing sound check, and I'd get this in there, and they'd be like, "That sounds nice."
Yeah.
Is that like your Acoustasonic?
Well, I play a Fender Acoustasonic. Not really, but similar.
Okay, what's it called, Rench?
Lara V.
No, but he's talking about the song, I think.
Yeah, the song.
Oh, the song. I'm gonna do "How I Could Just Kill a Man" by Cypress Hill, and I'm gonna get the guitar a little bit on the mic too.
Sure.
Acoustic sound. Hey now, don't miss out on what you're passing. You're missing the hooter. I'm the funky Buddha eluder. Your messed up style, I get wicked. So come on, the Cypress starts to kick it. Cause we're like outlaws striding, we're suckers are hiding. Jump behind the bush when they see me striding by. Hanging out the window with my Magnum, taking out some putos, acting kinda local. I'm just another local kid from the street getting paid by my vocals. Here is something you can't understand, how I could just kill a man. Here is something you can't understand, how I could just kill a man. Here is something you can't understand, how I could just kill a man. Here is something you can't understand, how I could just kill a man. I'm ignoring all that dumb shit, yo, because nothing is coming from it. I'm not gonna waste no time fucking around, I get straight humming, coming at ya. Yeah, you know I had to get you. Time for some action, just a fraction of friction. I got the clearance to run the interference. Any satellite, shining a battle light. Wrench got the gat and I know that'll get you right. Here's an example, just a little sample, how I could just kill a man. One time tried to come in my home, take my chrome, I said, yo, it's on. Take cover, son, I asked out, how you like my chrome? Then I watched a rookie pass out. Didn't have to blast him, but I did anyway. Hey, the punk had to pay, so I just killed a man. It's gonna be a long time before I finish one of the many missions that I have to establish. To light my spliff, ignite your wit, decide, and if you ain't down, bullshit. Say song punk, try to get you for your auto. Would you call the one time or play the role model? No, I think you act like a thug. Makes you hear the shot of a magnum slug coming at you. Yeah, you know I had to get you. How do you know where I'm at when you haven't been where I've been? Understand where I'm coming from when you're up on a hill in your big home. I'm out here risking my dome just for a bucket or a fast ducket. Just to stay alive, yo, I gotta say fuck it. Here is something you can't understand, how I could just kill a man. Here is something you can't understand, how I could just kill a man. Here is something you can't understand, how I could just kill a man. Here is something you can't understand. Here is something you can't understand, how I could just kill a man. Here is something you can't understand, how I could just kill a man. Here is something you can't understand, how I could just kill a man. Here is something you can't understand. Here is something you can't understand, how I could just kill a man. Here is something you can't understand, how I could just kill a man. Here is something you can't understand, how I could just kill a man. Here is something you can't understand, how I could just kill a man.
Nice.
That translates really well on acoustic.
How long ago did you figure that one out?
A long time ago. I've been doing it for a long time. It was early 2000s.
Yeah.
I was doing a hip hop honky tonk band, and we started trying that out, and it just fit right away.
It fits. It sounds like like the mix of the country and the hip hop. I was wondering, the reason I asked how long ago is because I was wondering if that was like the lightning bolt moment where you're like, oh, let me like combine these two genres, or if how'd that moment come?
There was no moment. It's just the influences that I have just coming out. That's kind of always been there. And so when I was getting into producing beats, and after moving to New York, I was making beats for MCs around the city. But getting back into the country music that I'd heard from my dad growing up. And so when I was making beats, I kept having these impulses being like, you know what would be really cool on this beat would be a pedal steel guitar or a fiddle or something, which the MCs never wanted to go for. And I ended up just starting to write stuff on my own to experiment with it.
Oh, okay. And the banjo too. It said in your bio
banjo.
that like people don't know the banjo's origin is African.
That's right.
That's right. And we had Tony Trishka on.
Oh, nice.
And he mentioned that same thing. We
talk about a banjo, dude.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
Did you ever work with him?
Tony's for real. We cross paths with him now and then.
Yeah.
I know the Gangstagrass banjo player Dan Whitener has worked with him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We saw him in February. Actually, the last gig that we were able to do was in February. And it was at the town hall here. It was a tribute to Woody Guthrie's "This Land Is Your Land."
Oh,
we were both on the bill for that.
That's the last gig you did?
Yeah, that was the last big
That's kind
show
of
with a big
poignant
audience.
in a way.
Yeah.
This land is your land.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
But if we're bringing up Tony and banjo, then Gangstagrass is technically bluegrass and rap, right? So, but bluegrass, by definition, doesn't have any drums.
Right.
And then you do add the beats and drums to it.
Indeed.
So does it sort of like, do bluegrass folk like, hey, Rench, what are you doing?
There's like one sliver of bluegrass traditionalists that get totally pissed off about what we're doing, and we love that.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, but it's the minority for sure.
Haters fuel the thing, don't they?
I mean, but like for the most part,
if I don't have any haters kind of engaged, I feel like I'm not doing anything.
Absolutely.
If like not enough people are kind of getting mad at me, which lately nobody's been getting mad at me.
Nobody's getting mad at you, then you're not innovating.
I'm not doing anything.
Big D Poppy, piss some people off.
I need to like get canceled so I can be real.
It's there's a lot of other ways to piss people off besides being canceled.
Oh my God!
Yeah. I mean, we like to.
There's so many ways to piss people off.
Yeah,
man.
but to me, it's important to who you're pissing off.
Right.
Right. Because I mean, just pissing people off for the sake of pissing people off is immature.
Bad.
But if you're doing something real, and you're pissing off traditionalists that don't want things to change, that is absolutely cool with me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So and for the most part, a lot of bluegrass fans like get this and they're into it and they're welcoming. And then there's like those two guys over in this side of the room that are shaking their heads.
Should be drums on these tracks.
And that's totally fine. A lot of people forget. We forget history. Like bluegrass traditionalists think that there's some sort of like this like bluegrass unchanging thing, and they don't realize that bluegrass itself was bringing together the Appalachian folk ballads with the blues guitar and the gospel tradition and like these different influences. And over time, it's changing as well. You can't stop it. That's like the whole history of American music.
Evolution.
Is these intercombining streams that always keep like permutating into new combinations. So I totally call bullshit on anybody that thinks like, it has to stay the same way.
Well, especially with what you guys aren't claiming to be a bluegrass band. If you were, then okay, maybe they have a small foothold in their haterade, but like there's no claim there.
Is there pushback
doesn't really make any sense.
The hip hop side of things?
They're more open.
Yeah, they're more open, more on the hip hop side of things. There's a lot of people that get into it, and then a few people that are just like, I don't know, like, but they don't hate on it. They just are like, I don't know what to do with this. But,
Interesting.
So it's not so much hate, but it's just it's a lot about just getting us in front of people, because once they hear the way that we're doing it, then
I gotta agree with that.
There's even a lot of people out there that just have eclectic tastes, and they're not like, I'm a hip hop person or I'm a bluegrass person, and we tend to have this image in our head of like all these separate fan bases out there, and the reality out there is there's so many people with Johnny Cash and Jay-Z on their playlist, like mixing it together. So you don't like, our experience is not going out and like, oh, we're playing for a bluegrass audience or we're playing for a hip hop audience. For the most part, we're playing for a bunch of people that already have eclectic tastes, and we're bringing together influences of people that they're already into.
Where did the interest in country came from? Your dad?
From my dad. He's from Oklahoma. So I grew up with a lot of honky tonk around the house. Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash and George Jones especially. And also a lot of the Graham Parsons and Flying Burrito Brothers stuff.
Nice. I love Graham Parsons. Yeah. Ghostly soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Graham Parsons would, after I like got older and sort of like rediscovering all that stuff that I was hearing as a kid, and reading about Graham Parsons was a total inspiration too, because people thought what he was doing was so crazy to mix country with
rock and roll.
With the like the psychedelic rock and roll of the hippies and the soul music that was going on at the time.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about that. It's weird how young he was when he passed.
I think is he part of the 26-year-old club?
I thought he was like 29, but I don't really know. But I think 20s.
So yeah, I think it might
yeah,
be
but he was
26.
like, his
Keith
recognition after
Richards.
he passed away was just like, he was like
his
a
version
genius.
of Wild Horses is incredible.
It's kind of like a Jeff Buckley kind of situation with Graham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
How old was he?
So when you were mentioning the bluegrass and the hip hop, then do you get booked on like the bluegrass festival, or do you get booked on the?
We play bluegrass festivals.
Okay, so
for sure, and then we play all kinds of other festivals as well. And there's not as many hip hop festivals yet,
right?
But we certainly want to get our foot in that door as well.
How long have you guys been together?
I started doing Gangstagrass, actually experimenting with it in 2006, but I put together as a live band around 2009, 2010.
Oh, okay. It's same members or has it changed?
And it went through some lineup changes, finding the right people. But we've got a pretty solid group that's been rolling with us for 6 or 7 years.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. How the Justified, you guys did the Justified theme song, and they asked you to write that?
Yeah, that was a call that I got out of the blue. It was actually, they first called me up to license one of the Gangstagrass tracks that I did for a commercial for the show. Oh. And when the producers of the show saw the commercial that they were working on,
Graham Yost, right?
Yeah, Graham Yost, producing Justified. He saw the commercial that they were working on and said, that's what we need for the theme song. So they called me back again and said, do a new thing that's just like that, but a new song.
It was both of our favorite shows. Nice. And until yesterday, I didn't realize it was, and I love that opening theme song.
Yeah,
it kind of makes sense now with everything.
Good job on that, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good show. What's the Graham Parsons thing? So I got to
do the math. He was born in 46 and died in 73, so that's 33. Yeah, 33 years old. So it wasn't the 20-something, right? I mean, my math is correct.
I don't know, dude.
Wait, say those numbers again. He was born in 40.
Yeah, I don't know. It was quick the way he did that.
I think it might be
1946. November born.
Yeah.
Died September 19th, 1973.
So he was around 27 or 26.
Oh, wait, did I do the math wrong?
You did the math wrong.
That's embarrassing. Sorry. Actually, it was 27.
Yeah.
27. I'll edit my stupidity out.
Okay.
No, I won't.
No.
So the band is you on acoustic.
Yep.
You have a banjo player.
We got banjo and fiddle going on. Dan Whitener's on the banjo.
I've seen you with lap steel. With what's the...
A dobro that we played with some.
Right.
But usually right now we're touring with Dan Whitener on banjo, Brian Farrow on fiddle, and two MCs. Arson, the Voice of Reason, and Dolio the Sleuth.
And they've been with you for a while, right?
Yeah.
Because it was funny. I was listening to some interview with, I don't know which one of them, but he said he met you guys like day of somewhere and just fucking got in the van and started touring with
That's
you.
Arson, the Voice of Reason, because Dolio actually referred us to him when we needed an MC last minute to go on a weekend tour that was starting in Philly and then going to North Carolina. And he lives in Philly.
Right.
So we just met him there before the show and kind of like ran through things real quick and said, okay, that'll work.
Clicked.
And then he rocked the show and jumped in the van with us for the weekend. We don't generally endorse getting into the vans with strangers to go out of state somewhere. But luckily it worked out and we just kept bringing him back. Arson is an amazing weapon for us to have in our live shows because he's a great MC and he also has a very particular talent for freestyling, which means we can take him to a show. He can do his regular verses, but half the time he's not. So on any given show, a verse that he's doing for a song might veer into completely new lyrics, and it really keeps it fresh and energetic for us. Me and the banjo player are looking at each other like, okay, he's done 16, okay, he's at 24 measures, and then we're like watching him, and he might give some sort of a hand signal or a crescendo in what he's doing to kind of like, you can kind of feel that he's leading up to the conclusion.
So it's almost like jam band oriented hip hop.
It's a lot of spontaneity where we try to come in. I mean, sometimes we miss it, but a lot of times we're able to hit the chorus coming in when he's done, even though we don't we've never heard the verse that he just did before because he just made up. And he'll be rhyming about things that people in the audience are wearing or something that we did that day, something about the city that we're in. And people really respond to that. Right? They're like, oh my God, this is happening totally spontaneously.
So I guess listening to your albums beforehand means nothing when coming to see you live.
Well, people respond to like people taking risks.
Yeah.
And and the energy of improvisation and the energy of the moment. If you're like tapping into that, and the interesting thing, that psychic connection a great band can have, like what you just said, like we nailed it, we hit the chorus even though we don't know. Somehow we know. It's
you
like
gotta be tight.
Well, it's a psychic. It's a more than tight. It's like tight would be if you rehearsed and it was the same every time. Right. This is different.
Intuition.
This is like psychic. I don't know. Like great bands have a psychic connection.
Yeah, we've definitely developed that, but it's also something that we take advantage of. That hip hop and bluegrass both have this strong improvisational element that they share, and they really get it. We found that there's so many things that we have in common, where we just had a different vocabulary for the same things. So the main example that I give is how, in the bluegrass tradition, coming from the hollers in Kentucky and Appalachia, people would sit around in a circle on their porch and call out a traditional song or a chord progression, and then they just like kind of go around in a circle trading solos.
Right, the solos are random.
It wasn't pre-written. Yeah. They just like sit around and be like, okay, let's do this. Okay, you go. And then that person would be like, okay, you go.
Yeah, I just thought about that.
They'd call that a pick. But in hip-hop, you got some guys standing around on the corner. One guy's beatboxing, and this guy takes a verse, off the cuff, and then he passes it to the next guy, battle rapping, or just passing verses around where one guy takes it and then he points to the next guy. They call that a cipher. And early on in bringing the live band for Gangstagrass together, where we're doing things, and we realized a cipher and a pick is the same thing, it just clicked. Oh yeah, we know how to do this. Right. We can do the same thing we do with the bluegrass side with the hip hop side. And so at that point the banjo player knew like, oh, I can take a solo and then I can nod to the MC to take a verse, and he's going to jump in because he knows the way this works because they do it too.
Right.
So that was an amazing thing to see.
Do you write raps as well? Or just music mostly? I have, but the rappers write their own raps, and my focus now is writing some of the singing parts and just the overall structure of the song. Like choruses in the songs kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's cool too that it's like like diversity too in this day and age, coming together and unified.
And this is what's happening whether people like it or not. Like we're all going to be here together, being next to each other with lots of different people, and like the cities are experiencing it now, but it's going to be happening more and more. And so like I think a lot of what we're seeing is resistance to change in terms of becoming a country of just lots of different people that are coexisting. That's always been a struggle. Every new wave of immigrants, meets this like backlash and this hate, and then
Great
eventually,
American experiment.
Yeah, and then eventually people then it becomes normal, and they're like, oh yeah, nobody's worried about the Irish right now, but I think that we're going through a bunch more of those transformations where eventually we just like recognize that like, oh yeah, we're all here. There's new people. There's people that have been here. There's like all these different people here, and we're not a threat to each other. We're all part of actually like being part of something bigger. And Gangstagrass likes to step out on stage and just represent in what we are, and being a multiracial group of showing banjo players and MCs getting down together. They're like, we're coming from different traditions, but there's also all this common ground that you can get together on and say, that's cool, you do your thing, I'm doing my thing, and then they actually work great together, so there's no friction there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as a musician, like it's been like that for so long. I mean, like when I was growing up in Ohio, I had a giant poster of Jimi Hendrix over my bed. That was like a god to me, And then in high school, I loved and worshipped Chuck D and Public Enemy and NWA and all that. So, like for me, it's like I've always been embracing
absolutely,
diverse influences and.
You're
and I
right.
think, and a lot of musicians, I think, do that too. And then, like, also with the hip hop community embracing rock and roll, and like with Run DMC and
You're absolutely
Aerosmith,
right.
It's been a long tradition of
Anthrax.
that. Anthrax too. Who
Anthrax and Public Enemy,
and we had Frank Bello on.
Yeah, and he was
podcast.
speaking about about
That's
that
absolutely
tour.
true. The musicians have always been cross-pollinating and influencing each other. And the crazy thing is just how much the industry has actually propped up all these divisions, because, and this is something that we love to like try to educate people a little bit on the history of the fact that the record companies started in the 1920s during Jim Crow segregation, and so they were like, oh, we're selling to these separate audiences. They assumed, okay, we can't sell these records to white people because it has black people in the band or whatever. But at the time, musicians were all cross-pollinating, and the music down there, they didn't have these labels yet of like country and blues and stuff. It was just Southern music. And so the record labels actually came up with two genres that they divided out of the same thing. And sometimes it was even the same record, and they just put a different picture of a different band
different
on
album
it.
cover.
And to the white audience, they sold it under the name of hillbilly music, and to the black audience, they sold it under the name of race music. And that was where it all started. And then a decade goes by, and people just start to believe it, and then everything becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy from there, that we end up believing that there's white music and black music, even though the musicians have always been cross-pollinating.
Well, like Bobby Caldwell, like that one song, what's it called? It's like What You Won't Do for Love. You know that song? Yeah, musicians have had the jump on just like, abolishing racial lines.
It'd be a good question for the podcast. Just regularly, I ask your guest, when did you realize that Bobby Caldwell was white?
Right.
I actually just actually realized it yesterday when I was at this barbecue, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it just, hearing what you just said reminded me of it.
For me,
I was like,
for a lot of people also, it was a Bobby Caldwell sample that was used in the Common song. What is that song? The Height? What was that song called? There's this song by Common, and it's got this Bobby Caldwell sample.
I'll Google
it. People looking up what that sample was and finding out that there was a white guy, but just would not have known.
Yeah, it seems like the media is trying to create more and more division and hysteria, I mean, I think they're very real problems that we have to confront and deal with, and we definitely have to like reform police and everything like that. But it also seems like, the racial divisions are being promoted by the media too, and there's a lot of like animosity being stirred up as well.
Depends on what you mean. One thing that I've learned traveling through the country for 10 years with a multiracial band is that the divisions are out there. Right. And sometimes it's in like, you have to bring them up. Like, you have to confront them. Like, ignoring them is not what's going to heal them. Right. Like, we actually have to like bring this stuff up, and sometimes it will be divisive to bring that up and like try to hold a mirror up to people and try to like bring up these things and say like, we have to address this. So it doesn't bother me that much for for people to bring this up and to be talking about race and racial differences and stuff, as long as we're like ready to confront that and try to work on it. And that's the really tough thing, is that like we still just have such a hard time talking about racism.
So you guys released a brand new song, Freedom.
Yeah.
In the spirit of what's going on, so we should talk about that a little bit. So you guys recorded it during quarantine? No,
this was one of the 3 songs that we got recorded before lockdown happened. We recorded 3 songs for the album in February, and we were scheduled to go back into the studio together in late March to finish up the album, which then we couldn't do. So we had to do the rest of the album remotely.
And it's now coming out August 16th, maybe?
August 14th. The album is coming out. It's called No Time for Enemies. And one of these songs that we recorded in February, 2 of them we knew, like, okay, these are great songs. These are singles. And there's this 3rd song that we like. We think it's a really cool song. I don't think we were really thinking of it in terms of a single. And we recorded it as totally a Black liberation song. That like doesn't pull any punches, and so we were actually talking about it in the studio, like, this is going to be really interesting to take and do live in front of our crowds in Kentucky and Texas and Tennessee. But then all these uprisings started happening in June, and the issue of racial justice was so much in the forefront that we were like, well, this is the time to put that song out. So we released it on Juneteenth and have had a great reaction to it.
And then you put out 2 other songs, right, before the quarantine? What was the other one?
There's one other single called Nickel and Dime Blues.
That one.
That was the first single we came out, and then a third single that's coming out on Friday.
This Friday?
Yeah.
All right, well,
It's
this
called,
podcast is coming out on Tuesday, so it's good timing.
Cool. So it's called Ain't No Crime. It's coming out on Friday, July 10th, and it's a fun party track.
And what's the process when you were in the studio? Do you show up with some beats and what's the writing process? Do you do anything in the studio?
Yeah, well, initially, as the founder and kind of the mastermind, I was doing a lot of production where I'd do the beats and come up with these songs, and then I'd bring in people to overdub their parts, and then I'd do all this editing and production stuff. But now that we've had the band together for a while, we've had the chance to do more things where we really collaboratively write a song and then do it at some shows, take it out on the road to help it evolve, road test it, make some tweaks and let it really come together more as a group. And so that's what we were planning to do for this album, and we did with these first 3 songs, and then we had to go back to the studio production version, which is also cool.
How many albums have you guys put out?
This is going to be the 5th studio album, and we have 1 live album as well.
Have you ever had outside producers, or do you produce? Or
we haven't yet. I'd be open to that, but we're flying under the radar, right? Like we're these guys off doing this weird thing.
I guess, but I don't know. You've had some mainstream success.
True.
I mean,
your live album.
It's all relative.
Did very well.
It's all relative.
Yeah, it's all relative.
Yeah.
Did your live album chart on the Bluegrass charts?
Yeah, I think it got up to number 2.
That's
on the
crazy.
Bluegrass charts.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's wild. So that's not that under the radar.
Yeah, well, bluegrass is a small market.
Oh, that's true.
Right. But then I assume when you started, did you feel like the need to prove that, okay, I believe this will work even though everyone thinks this is crazy? And then at what point are you like, okay, I already proved it, I'm just going to do my thing?
I have no idea.
It just happened.
No idea. Because I'm doing it just to make it real.
Right.
Because that's something that I want to hear. And, nobody else is doing it the way that I want it to be done. So I'm just, I'm doing it so that I can put it out there. And then, people are going to react however they react.
Right.
How do you keep your sanity outside of music? Like, do you have any kind of meditation practice, yoga, any of that?
No,
exercise?
I just go crazy.
You just nuts and make music.
Just go nuts.
Just bananas and
just
then
go
here's
down,
music.
Just go down the hole into insanity.
Really?
That's my approach.
Straight up. No self-care regimen at all?
I'm going to get around to that one of these days.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't have anything either.
Well, you rode to the lighthouse a couple times.
Once, twice, three times.
Man,
did you hear the new Run the Jewels?
I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet. Run the Jewels 4, right?
Oh, it's so good.
Cool.
It's my favorite new workout record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I listened to it today
I gotta
again.
check it out.
It's real good.
And then, could you talk about, you guys are doing something super interesting with your Twitch channel?
Oh yeah, what's Twitch?
So when we went into lockdown and we couldn't do all these tours, we had to try to pivot to streaming stuff, which we were behind on. So we're still catching up on that.
Everyone is.
Everyone's playing catch up with that.
One thing that we decided early on was to jump into this Twitch platform, which initially was.
Isn't it for gaming?
That's what it initially was games and people watching each other play video games.
Right.
But they're expanding their music and arts area, so
we should put the podcast.
That's a growing thing. Yeah.
Maybe I should figure out Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you actually?
What is Twitch? Live streaming?
Yeah, it's all about being live there, and so a few times a week, at least one of us is on there live. Sometimes a group, like Friday nights. Sometimes we have a whole group. We're like live streaming our Zoom call for us to all talk. We did something that we'll do again soon. We've done a few times called Kick the Can, where one of us will live stream us putting down an idea that we just thought of. And then the next night's live stream will be somebody else who's downloaded that, and now they're putting their part on it. And then so fans get to actually see in real time us laying down different layers on a song to make it. And one of them actually is going to be on the new album. Because it turned out so well. We were like, this totally fits on the new album.
The actual cut is you guys.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So Twitch is like another social media like Instagram or something, like where you can get followers and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, it's good.
Another one.
Every platform you go to, suddenly you got to worry about some stats and analytics and building up your following and stuff. So you got to do it.
It's always a bummer. Yeah. What about TikTok?
Yeah, we're kind of agnostic about TikTok. But TikTok is a platform where it's not really about the artist account itself. It's about having
fans,
having the influencers on TikTok do their own dance videos to it and stuff like that.
Yeah. So you got a TikTok or not really?
We have one. We haven't really done much with it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you can do in terms of your own artist account on TikTok. It's just a question of whether you want to invest in trying to get people to do dance videos to your songs.
So as far as putting an album out during a pandemic, and we've had other artists here who dropped albums, and you can't really tour to support it. So what's the general plan?
Oh man, touring was big for us. I mean, that was really like put out an album and then go play all these shows where you can sell it directly to people, and so it's definitely going to be different. We're we've got some videos coming together, but those are also hard too because we can't be in the same place to shoot the video together. I'm in Brooklyn. The banjo players in Jersey, the MCs are in Philly, and the fiddle players in Baltimore.
Huh. Not that bad.
You could get together, like meet in the middle.
We're all doing the shelter in place thing pretty seriously. So
everybody's still into it.
Yeah.
When do you think that touring will start up again in a year or so, or what's your prediction?
I have my fingers crossed for 2021.
2021.
Yeah. I think I think it's going to be, it's going to be on the rise again. We're going to deal with some more waves of it through the fall, and then hopefully in the spring of 2021 we'll be at a place where we can do.
Would you take the vaccine?
If they have a vaccine, sure.
You would take it?
Yeah.
No worries about it at all.
It's all risk calculation. The worries about it would be less than the worries about the virus. So you just gotta figure out that balance.
What about building up you said you don't do like a health regime. I'm like big into health and like building my immunity and stuff like that. Big into that.
But I gotta go back to the album thing. Did you guys think twice maybe we should wait till 2021 to release it? Why release it now if you can't tour to support it? And then like when 2021 comes, probably have new material by then, and Is it a wash? I just don't. I'm trying to get into artists' minds on that.
I think it's still going to be good. I think in some ways there's an opportunity to be entertainment that people need now, or there's a lot of stuff that is filling a vacuum of everybody at home needing to watch things, listening to things, and interacting and connecting that way. So. It seemed like it was better to just go ahead. A lot of people were postponing their albums till the fall, and we figured maybe that'll just open up more room for us if we still get it out in the summer. It'll have a chance to breathe a little bit more than if we wait. And by 2021, we'll probably have another album's worth of material. So rather than let this stuff get stale, just put it out.
Put it out.
Music it's weird. It's timeless, and then also it has a stale thing.
Yeah.
But then it transcends the staleness. But it takes years to transcend the staleness. But like it's fresh.
Yeah.
And then it's stale, but then it's timeless.
Right. You got to graph that out of the initial freshness goes up, and then it goes down into like, oh, that's
it's
last
stale,
year.
It's last year.
And
But
then a few years later, it's
5
like
years
it's a
from
classic.
now,
Yeah.
it's fucking awesome. Like the Come to Where I'm From re-release, not the self-plug, but like that's all fresh again because it's 20 years old.
Yeah.
20 years old, it's fresh.
All right.
Forever.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But it's.
What about like? Do you have any kind of like, this is kind of similar to the discipline thing, but like a spiritual connection? Do you have any sort of spiritual beliefs or anything like that you connect to, or pretty agnostic, or what's the story?
Yeah,
there?
I'm pretty agnostic. I'm just like more about just connecting with people,
right?
In whatever situation you're in.
Yeah. No sort of prayers or anything like that. Or?
No, I don't really connect with any kind of one size fits all. Like this is what you do. I think I just like to react to the situation and build up tools to try to be good.
Right.
Get wiser as you go.
Yeah.
Do you have kids?
A lot of the band got into watching this show, The Good Place. Did you watch that?
I never heard
with Kristen Bell and Ted Danson.
Yeah.
I haven't watched.
It's surprisingly good. Like,
where is it, on Netflix?
It was an NBC show, but it's on Netflix now.
Good Place?
I gotta be honest, I watched the first episode years ago, and I was like, and I quit.
How come this came up?
But
is it about spirituality?
Yeah, and philosophy.
But then I heard that it was really good and got picked up for more seasons.
It's so crazy that a primetime sitcom was funny, but it was also so packed with philosophical thought.
Right.
That like I can't believe somebody snuck all of that philosophy into a primetime show.
That's funny. And it's who is in it?
Kristen Bell and Ted Danson.
Oh, okay. I like Ted Danson for some reason.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
I don't know why.
She's good too.
She's married to Dax Shepard.
Yeah. And he's got a podcast.
Oh, Dax Shepard.
They do it from home.
Yeah.
But do you have kids?
Yeah, I got 2 kids.
What do they listen to?
They're also keeping me busy. I got a 5-year-old who listens to whatever, and an 11-year-old. So he's listening to chiptunes.
What are chiptunes?
It's like 8-bit music that sounds like old video games. Very very synth.
Is that popular?
Synthy stuff.
It's
a niche.
It's a niche. Yeah, and it kind of has like beats and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Like electronic music, but with 8-bit stuff.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Chiptunes.
Yeah.
I gotta look that up.
Does he like your music?
He likes it okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got to rebel a little.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. No, I mean, once I was that age, I started hating country music that my dad listened to for a while.
Right. What about your mom?
And she was kind of along for the ride. She listened to all that stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my parents listened to like the Four Tops and Jim Croce.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. They had two albums.
Yeah,
literally, they had 2 albums that they
Dylan
rotated.
And the Beatles,
I swear to God, my whole influence is the Four Tops and Jim Croce. That's it.
At least it was something.
Hey, it's not bad.
Yeah, it was. I had Sgt. Pepper's and the Freewheeling. That's it.
That's better.
I mean, but those were the only 2.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's your dad's favorite country?
Oh, he's big into George Jones.
Uh-huh.
So that got me into that side.
What do you think of Chris Christopherson?
He's cool.
I love him.
Yeah, he was a good part of that outlaw country movement.
Yeah. And Willie Nelson.
Oh yeah.
Big time. The redheaded stranger. You know it?
No.
That's what they call Willie Nelson. He had an album called The Redheaded Stranger.
It's a good album.
Yeah.
I think that's the one that's Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain is on. It's a great song.
I know that song.
Yeah.
Cool.
You got anything else to play?
Sure. I'll play a little one of my tunes about getting arrested.
I always like that.
Did you get arrested before you started?
Yes, I have.
So it's true story.
Yeah, actually, there's plenty of truth to this one. Here I am again, getting rid of my rights every time that I do my thing. My chauffeur's got a siren and these handcuffs on my bling. I may be causing trouble, but my friends, I do it well. And you know where you can find me, in my home sweet holding cell. 'Cause I look good in a mugshot, in the back of a cruiser I'm still hot. I know my rights and I won't stop, using the freedom that I got, speaking my mind and taking the street. And if they come to put the cuffs on me, thank God I look good in a mugshot. All the folks at the precinct know my name, and it's time for another visit. It's been a few weeks since my ACD ran up, and I'm ready to hit it. I don't stand for nobody getting pushed around, and if I see it, I raise my voice. Injustice to one is injustice to all, and I'm ready to make some noise. 'Cause I look good in a mugshot, in the back of a cruiser I'm still hot. I know my rights and I won't stop, using the freedom that I got, speaking my mind and taking the street. And if they come to put the cuffs on me, thank God I look good in a mugshot.
Them's the breaks, and I got no doubt everybody knows what I'm talking about. I done things that I ain't proud, and I made mistakes. But the cookie crumbles and the cards they fall. When I got my back up against the wall, I'll keep standing tall and taking them breaks. They could lock me up, they could tear me down, till the day I'm 6 feet underground. I'll keep doing just what I gotta do. But the deck is stacked and my number's up. I gotta take it in stride and suck it up. The brakes ain't breaking me, cause I know it's true. I look good in a mugshot, in the back of a cruiser, I'm still hot. I know my rights and I won't stop, using the freedom that I got, speaking my mind, taking the street. And if they come to put the cuffs on me, thank God I look good in a mugshot. Yeah, thank God I look good in a mugshot.
Nice. What'd you get
gotta
arrested?
see that
What'd you
mugshot.
get arrested? Yeah, let me be the judge of that.
Yeah.
What'd you get arrested for?
I don't even know if they really do a lot of mugshots for stuff anymore. The last time I got arrested, the charge was incommoding, which was basically the lowest charge that you could give somebody, which just means being annoying.
Incommoding. Well, commode is like what they used to call a toilet back, but
Yeah,
my family from West Virginia called the toilet the commode.
Really?
Yeah, that's what it's
Yeah,
called.
so I mean, it sounds like something toilet related,
like sort
but
of like you're acting like a shithead, basically.
it just means
Incommoding.
being in the way.
Right.
That's
You're not
so funny.
you're not accommodating.
You can get arrested for being annoying.
Yeah.
I
So
can't
you said
believe I haven't been arrested for that
I know.
yet.
You said
That's
the last
insane.
time, so I assume there was a time
Oh,
before
yes.
that.
Oh yes. So there was a couple of incommodings back in late 2017.
What happened?
Recent.
Yeah, that was around the tax the tax plan they were putting forward that shoveled a bunch of money towards the rich and gave them all these tax breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible idea.
So you were protesting?
Yes,
or
I
what?
was. Yeah, I was
Where-
there.
Where were
I
you
was
protesting?
At the White House, at the Senate office building, a lot around the Senate, because it was the Senate that was really the engine that was pushing that forward and just being terrible. They were writing these things based on what the lobbyists were telling them on napkins the night before, and then handing it in to vote on without anybody having time to read it.
Huh. And that's pretty interesting because not a lot of people were protesting that. So you were doing that out there, like what do you call it? Like, somebody who's out there alone. I don't know what the word
No,
is.
I was with groups. I mean, it
a
wasn't
group, but
it
not
wasn't
like
a mass
not
thing.
like
But
now.
I do believe that you got to connect with other people and be organized. Trying to do it alone is not the way to go.
Yeah.
So strength in numbers is a very important thing.
Yeah. So did you guys have any success protesting that, or did it?
Not that one. That one went through. That was unfortunately one that they just rammed that one through.
That'd be good to put. I mean, not to suggest it, but I guess I'm suggesting it. Like even throwing that in a verse too about like what you got charged for, because that's a good story.
Yeah.
And it would also promote the cause.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, I did put in there a little something about my ECD running up, which in a lot of times if you're doing like civil disobedience, direct actions, you'll get a court date and you'll go to court and the lawyer will say like, these guys were just using their First Amendment right to protest.
Yeah.
They weren't actually hurting anybody. You should drop the charges.
Yeah.
They don't want to just like drop the charges right out. They still want to say like, oh, something has to be said, like, don't do that again.
Yeah.
So what the judge has the option to do that they usually do is called adjournment in contemplation of dismissal, which is just putting some conditions on dismissing the charges. Usually it'll be something like, don't get arrested again for 6 months. Like if you're good for 6 months, then the charges go away.
Will be dropped, yeah.
Right.
Like probation.
Yeah. But there was one time I got arrested, and there was other people getting arrested were like the heads of the union, a state senator, or city council person, like these like high up political officials were also doing it. And we all went to our court date together, and the judge... the lawyer was pushing for, just drop the charges. You have the power to like make it nothing.
Yeah.
The judge didn't want to do nothing, but instead of like 6 months, he was like, here's a way you can get the charges dropped like today, I'll just require that you go to this quality of life class that we offer here for people that got arrested for pissing on the sidewalk or whatever, public intoxication.
Really?
Yeah.
So we had to go to this class where they had to give us a lecture about being better citizens to, this state senator and city council member who are there not having it. They're like, you know what? We were here exercising our rights to try to make things better for people. And the guy whose job it was to tell us not to do that, I'd be like, okay, I'm legally required to tell you not to do whatever you did.
It's red tape bullshit.
But the subtext was, I can't tell you, state senator, that you weren't doing the right thing. But it was really funny to be in that class with them, and a couple people that were pissing on the sidewalk in public intoxication.
Right.
Sometimes you gotta piss outside, though. I mean, it's like we've all been there.
Especially during
like,
quarantine when everything's closed.
Dude, I know, it's crazy. Like, but it's your.
I will tell you this, though.
You have a right to protest.
Yeah,
though.
This is a New York thing, though. There are not enough places to pee in this city. And
100%.
Once you realize that people are peeing in bottles, you will never stop seeing pee bottles on the side of the road.
I've seen that too.
So we got to get more places to pee in the city.
I agree. Well, how can they arrest you if you have a right to protest? Were you doing something specific? That
you find something that you actually is against the rules, but is not a serious offense, and you get a minor charge of of disturbing the peace or whatever, small time stuff like that. Or they find something like incommoding that they can charge you with that means like practically nothing.
Who's your first phone call when you get arrested? Is it your wife? Or is she used to it, or is she out there with you?
Your phone call and getting read your rights is kind of a Hollywood version of things, right. I gotta say. And when I get arrested, thankfully, like almost all the times I've been arrested, it's been planned through like joining a protest and stuff.
Yeah.
And you want to do it with an organization, not by yourself.
Take care of it.
Because they have a plan, and
you go in knowing you're going to get arrested.
You go in, you know who's going to get arrested. They've been like, yes, I'm planning to get arrested. Okay, This is what you guys are going to do. You're going to sit over here. The police are going to give you 3 warnings, and when you don't get up, they're going to take you to the car. That you're going to be charged with this. And then, you're going to wait in the holding cell, and then they're going to, and when you come out of the holding cell, the organization has people there waiting for you, being like, way to go. There's a whole other role of jail support of the person that's out there who knows what precinct you're in.
So it's all planned,
all
including the
arrest. It's all planned, and that's the situation you want.
It's funny you say that, because I was downtown. I live near the Supreme Court, where all the protests have been going on, and they're handing out water bottles and food to whoever's protesting. And I'm looking at the water bottle, and on it says, if you get arrested, call this number. If a fellow protester gets arrested, do this. And there were instructions on the water bottle as to what to do, and I was like, that kind of blew my mind.
I mean, sometimes you can't plan it out. Right. Things don't always go according to plan. There's still there's still reasons to end up getting arrested even if you didn't plan to, but it's best when it's a plan.
Well, we need some sort of plan for public urination. And
yes, we
do.
We do.
For that.
We got to stop making all these pee bottles around the city.
Try riding up to the lighthouse with a full bladder. That's always an issue.
That's brutal. Once you're at the lighthouse, there's plenty of places to pee around there.
I know.
You're fine.
Cool. Well, thank you, Rench.
Yeah, thanks,
that was
Rench.
fascinating.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
And
single out this Friday. Where can
this
people?
Friday is called Ain't No Crime.
Spotify, iTunes. Where are you guys?
Anywhere that you music your music, it's gonna be there.
Anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah. So just look for Gangstagrass, and our new single Ain't No Crime is gonna be out on Friday.
Gangstagrass. Also, if you guys did want to venture, you should go into the weed business, because there you got your name already settled.
Right. It is being discussed.
Yeah,
really? For real? See?
Where's the name from?
That was just like the first thing that popped into my head when I was like, I should do a bluegrass and hip hop mashup. And then the next thought was, obviously, it would be called Gangstagrass.
Right.
That's pretty good. Be a great name for a weed.
Yeah.
Anyway.
A weed brand, yeah.
A weed brand, that's what I mean.
Someday.
All right.
Thank you, Rench.
Thanks,
sure.
Rench. Thanks, Ehud.
Thank you.
See y'all.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll. Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated.